What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Moderately Educated News Network. I am joined by my lovely co-host Xavier Dukes, and today we are going to be reacting to the vice presidential debate between Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Senator JD Vance, who is on Trump's ticket, and then Walz is on Kamala's ticket. So we will go ahead and jump right into the news, give you an update and a recap on what happened. We're going to go ahead and start off with Xavier giving his take on the debate.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say one thing, you did get Waltz's title wrong. I think you meant to say future VP, is the title we're going for there. But aside
Tampons in bathrooms is not okay. In
from
boys' bathrooms is
so
diabolical.
so that being said, I think that overall this was a welcome sight compared to other debates that we've seen, most notably debates involving Trump. I think that it focused a decent bit on policy. I feel that the moderation was done decently well. I do feel that Vance did kind of get to bully the moderators and Walls at times, but overall it was a solid debate. I think they both, in typical politics and politician fashion, they did try their best to beat around the bush when it came to some tougher questions. I did like to see them own up to previous past mistakes and misspeakings, which was a positive. And ultimately, yeah, I enjoyed the debate. I will say, largely, I do feel like this will be impactless to how many people vote. Probably won't see large skew in the polls based off this debate, as I don't think people weigh vice presidential debates as heavily as they do presidential ones. And I don't imagine that there aren't, at this point in the race, that there are many undecided voters. And even if there are, I don't think that this debate and specifically will sway their views. So that being said, I'd love to hear your take on what you thought about last night's debate.
So last night's debate was very, very, very professional, I will say, as far as the presidential air that a candidate has, right? I personally believe that JD Vance is more presidential in terms of like being like just the atmosphere that you would kind of expect from a president. I'd say he's more presidential than Trump. I'd venture to say Tim Walz is more presidential than Kamala, if I'm being completely honest. The way they came yesterday and presented their arguments was very I feel for the most part efficient, effective. There are times where JD got Tim, a little bewildered and he'd literally turn around like that and be bumbling a little bit in his responses. But overall, I feel like those two low key should be the presidential candidates over what we actually have. But that being said, the moderation yesterday was. I'm not gonna say it was fair, all things being equal. You could say that Vance bullied the moderators, but he tried to fact check them, or they tried to fact check him with the immigration thing. So he fact checked them on what was going on with Haitians getting temporary legal status using this app, and then they cut his mic because he was telling the truth. So I thought that was crazy. And then they asked him a lot of loaded questions, which he actually did a very good job in responding to. I get what you mean about beating around the bush a little bit. He'd start by introducing himself to the American people, kind of explaining who he is, and then he'd answer the question. But the thing is, he'd answer the question. Whatever the question is, for the most part, he answered every single question. Um, so I definitely believe the debate was pretty good. I do think while you said this debate won't have a significant swing in the polls, I do think people were watching, and it's solely because of the fact if we're looking at what's happening now, right? Kamala Harris is Biden's vice president. But we all know Biden's not running anything. So I feel like realistically, with the competence of presidents being questioned now and potentially in the future, vice presidential vice presidential candidates do matter. So I think people, at least in terms of ratings and views, like the debate got way more ratings and views than most other vice presidential debates in the past. So I think people are tuning in a little bit more. And I think if somebody hates Trump, I think they could look at Vance and be like, okay, I could vote for that. But as far as policies and things of that nature, I did like that surprisingly, Tim Walz was agreeing with Vance on a lot of things. Whether it was medication being lowered, they agreed on that. Um, whether it was dealing with immigration to a certain extent, they agreed on that. But one thing that Vance did throughout the debate that I thought Trump should have did with his debate with Kamala is he kept saying Kamala Harris is there now. She has been there for the last 3.5 years, basically almost 4 years at this point, and these things have not gotten done. So trying to do them in an election year is an absolute sham, and it's very suspect. He kept going back to that point, and because he kept going back to that point, I view him as the winner of the debate because that is absolutely facts, and things are way worse than they've been in prior years. So, that's my take on it. Any
Absolutely.
response?
Absolutely. Yeah, you went on a lot there. I think, well, to your point, he definitely did not answer all the questions. There was a great one posed by Tim Walz, asking him about how he felt about the last election and whether Trump had won or lost that election and give his thoughts on it. He did not answer that at all, just completely skirted by that. I would say ultimately, I probably agree with you, that I'm sorry, not Walls. JD Vance, more than likely, I would say he probably had a better performance during that debate. I think at his career in politics definitely showed. I think his ability to speak and articulate a message and clear in a boisterous and presentative manner is very well done. So I think just his stage presence, I would agree is better. But in terms of the substance and things that were presented during it, I gotta say largely I disagree with some of the things that he's presented. I'll say it's worth noting that most people in the US are aligned on many things. We have common morals, a shared history and culture to a degree. That being said, we all want what's best for our kids. We all want, education, some form of like welfare services, and we want to elevate the American people. That being said, what differs is our policy position and how we think that should be done, but ultimately share the end goal. I consistently like Democrats' message, not just Tim Walz, but also Kamala's during her speeches, message of unity as working as a team and coming together and bipartisan legislation. I will say, to backtrack slightly to discuss moderation, I don't like when I noticed this during the presidential debate as well, when people felt that um, Trump was being unfairly moderated, as opposed to Kamala, and you just uttered a similar statement during as for your feelings regarding this debate. And I'll say when one side acts egregiously, you would expect a more egregious response from a moderator. Not to say that JD Vance acted in an egregious manner, but that explains Trump's seemingly fact checking during I believe it was hosted on ABC. That's why we saw such
Yeah, it's on
strong
ABC.
fact checking regarding, egregious claims.
But
I'll say
Kamala lied and made egregious claims multiple times throughout that debate. They did not fact check
I
those
would not say
claims.
that they nearly reached the level of what Donald Trump
She
said. So
said
that
that
being
the
said,
man was going to sign an abortion
yep,
ban, which
absolutely.
is
So
he's not. He would have done it when he was president.
sure,
That's an
and he had the
absolute
opportunity
lie.
to defend that,
That's an
and
egregious claim.
absolutely. He had the opportunity to defend that, and it was more defamation of character and things of that rather than distorting of the truth and facts. I'll say this that I think Vance lied more during that debate. He notably misrepresented the Haitian community as illegal. They are here legally, for one. For two, he mentioned that
Legally,
300,
temporarily,
yes, but they are here
temporarily.
legally.
Some, not all.
Secondly, he also mentioned that ICE or the Department of Homeland Security has lost upward of 1/3 of a million children in the system. Now, this statistic is from a DHS report where they say 32,000. So, an order of magnitude, 10 times lower, where they say children have not shown up for, or unaccompanied minors, not little babies, but unaccompanied minors did not show up for court dates and processing. So not that they're lost, not that we misplaced them, and not that they're drug mules, as famously quoted by Vance. I'll say that the fact that these were misrepresented and by such a large degree, I feel is dishonest. But anyway, your responses.
So I feel where you're coming from as far as that particular statistic, but realistically, if you were intellectually honest, you would admit that for me, I live in Houston. We're the number one human trafficking city, like in the entire United States. That is not because of US citizens being trafficked. I will repeat that. That is not because of US citizens being trafficked. That is because of migrants who get trafficked and end up in sex slave trades and things of that nature. Half of those are children. So realistically, his number probably isn't too crazy in terms of what actually has been trafficked in and out of the country as far as
Okay.
non-citizen people who are basically here illegally, but they're being trafficked in and out for different various reasons by a bunch of freaky people like Diddy. Like
Okay.
that number is probably minuscule compared to that. And I understand that that may be a separate quote unquote argument, but the principle still matters that there's a lot of people who are lost. You can go in freaking Walmart and look on a freaking wall and see all the missing
Yep,
persons.
those are
It's
okay, not
ridiculous.
relevant to um immigration, but yes, I do understand that. Two
But I'm
things.
saying that's just a fraction compared
Sure.
to
Yeah.
immigration. That's like our people.
So how do you
Like
feel about Trump's zero tolerance clause that often separated families, deporting parents while leaving children here in the United States? Is that losing children? Is that a problem?
I'd
Because
say that's a problem because you should try to keep families together, but at the same time, there should be no birthright citizenship. If you're just coming over to have a quote unquote, as they call the term, anchor baby, that's
yeah,
insane that you can
absolutely.
come from a foreign land, have a child, and that child's a citizen,
And now you're
and that
citizens by proxy. Absolutely, I'd
that's
agree with you.
crazy.
I'd agree with you. But the answer is not to send the parents back and while leaving the child in foster care.
I'd
Which
agree.
was a Trump policy. But that being said, let me see. Oh, and then his constant misrepresentation of the number of illegal immigrants in this country. How many illegal immigrants do you believe are here in the United States? If you had to
So
guess.
allegedly, it's 10 million. Do I think it's more than that? Probably. Just realistically. If we're
Okay.
being completely honest, there is no way they have tracked and counted every single person that's made it
So,
in
so
here.
then what's the upper bounds of illegal immigration then?
Ooh. Of
If
the
you had to
past
guess
like
on the high
40
end.
years? Of the
No,
past
not over
40?
the four. I
Oh.
mean the total population in the United States.
Ooh.
If you had to get, so you said realistically, or not, rather not realistically, but you cited 10 million. What is the high end of that is my question.
So that 10 million is just basically last like 3.5, 4 years. So realistically, overall, because it's been freaking ramping up. Obama definitely had a good amount come in as well. I'd venture to say it's probably getting close to like 20 million as a
Okay.
whole.
Okay, interesting. Um, so commonly, JD Vance last night cited the figure of 25 million, which is 5 million, about 25% higher than what you cited, which I would say is again a gross misrepresentation. For one, for two, there's a DHS report which says on the high end they expect about 16.8 million, but that also being said, it's 10 to 12 million has largely been the number in the United States and has maintained consistency I mean, since George Bush was president, and even with Obama's massive deportation policies, we still saw that number only dip slightly below 11 million. So, again, they're illegals. The tracking system is not perfect, hence why some children do get lost in the system. It's not one third of a million, but children do get lost in the system. But that being said, with such gross misrepresentation of facts, I don't feel like we can weigh the substance and moderation that both candidates received accurately.
Well, I'd strongly venture to disagree because even Tim Walz had to be checked on certain lies that he told, such as when he was in China and he wasn't even in China at that point and things of that nature. So they called him out on like one thing, but even as far as moderation, I'm talking about the types of questions they were asked.
You have an
They
example?
give they'd ask Tim Walz like, "Oh, well, what do you think about Kamala's policy to do this?" And then they'd ask Vance, well, Trump said he was going to do this, and he didn't. He's like, this didn't happen, and blah blah blah. Like, it's just loaded questions versus we'll give you a question that you could answer, basically a softball question. So, and if you deny that that happened last night, then I don't know what debate you watched. To be fair, but
Yeah.
and once again, back to points, right? You say it's what 16.8 um allegedly that are here, right? 16.8. The message that Vance put out there still stands. That's 16.8 million people that are encroaching upon housing for American citizens, jobs for American citizens, and several other opportunities. They're literally getting our taxpayer dollars. We're not going to have enough Social Security to sustain when we're old, and they're getting taxpayer dollars that we need, and they're not legal. That's absolutely insane. And as you can see, immigration is, I believe, the second biggest topic behind the economy for the election. I think they said that in a debate yesterday. So, yeah, people are not having that. People are not happy with that on both sides of the aisle. So,
Yep.
yeah, whether it's freaking 17 million, 20 million, 25 million, it's a problem and it needs to
Absolutely.
be solved.
Yeah, so despite Republican and Democrat lawmakers in Congress attempting to solve that issue with a bill to provide more officers, funding, and better support for border security, when Trump asked GOP lawmakers to oppose this bill and delay it, do you think, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I don't
So,
know. I
okay,
know
I'll
that
give
was
you my
brought up during
perspective.
the debate, but
It
yeah.
was it was brought up. So, here's the funny thing, right? My question to you that I posed to you, immigration has not been a problem just in this election year. Why are they waiting until now to do it? They
Because they
had
were blocked,
4 years.
as stated.
Not initially, bro. They did not do this in the first year or the second year or the third year. They're doing it now. So let's not play games
No,
like they
no,
could
that
have.
that bill that has been news for a while that they have been blocked by GOP senators.
In
Um,
what, early 2024?
I am not sure when that bill passed, but I do know that
I'm pretty
Biden
sure
did
it's
have
early 2024. But the
well,
point is,
bill.
they're waiting till an election year to do it. So I'm going to finish my point really quick. But when you let things crash and burn, and you wait until an election year to try to pass something so you can say it's fixed, that's a problem, which is why Vance kept reiterating she's been there. Why is she just now trying to do this? These things have not changed, and you're waiting until an election year to try to change it. If you actually look, gas prices are going down. Why? It's an election year. Gas prices were like at $3 for the past 3 years, and now we get closer to November and they start going down to like 249, some of the lowest things we've seen in years, really. Like, no, they do this in election years. And it's not just something that Democrats do, it's something both sides do. They play the game, they throw the American people to the wolves for multiple years, and then they'll literally try to make things seem good for a small little span until an election's over, and then crap goes back to how it was. That's a problem.
Okay. So I would go on to say then I don't know why. So then Trump blocking a crucial piece of legislation.
Trump's not in office. You
Yeah,
could say
Trump
he
Trump
called people and
yep,
told
Trump
them to reject
encouraging
it, but those
GOP
people have
senators to
their own
block
autonomy, though.
legislation to make it a political talking point and issue to run on. Do you not see that as a problem?
Ask your question again. I didn't hear the second half of your question.
Do you see the fact that Donald Trump influenced, called, and actively supported, well, didn't support this bill that would have solved the issue in order to make it a talking point and a campaign issue?
So my question to you is,
I just
this
wish you'd
is
answer
a
the question. This is the
no.
second time you've dodged the question by asking me a question. Do
It's
you
not
think
it's
it's an
not it's
issue?
not really dodging the question. I'm trying to get understanding.
Just
So
say yes or no then, and
realistically,
then ask me the
is
question.
Trump? Hold on, is Trump in power right now? Yes or no?
I don't see the relevance.
It you see the relevance. You're a very
No,
intelligent
I
guy.
don't, because the fact that
He's not. He's
you don't
not a
have to be
president.
in power
He has no
to influence
executive
people.
powers. No,
Okay,
he
that's
can't sign
great.
executive
That's
orders.
great. But Congress passes
So
the bill. So when you
I
call
understand. So
congressmen
you're saying he can
and stop
puppeteer
it,
Congress. You're
what's the
saying he has enough
problem?
power to puppeteer Congress. That's what you're saying. Those people have
I'm
no
saying
autonomy
that
and free will.
he has influence and can talk to Republicans because if Republicans don't side with him, they're often deemed rhinos and casted out of the MAGA umbrella, which has replaced the common Republican Party. So yes,
Overall, Republicans didn't agree with this man when he became president. The majority of the party was against him, if we're
absolutely,
being honest.
absolutely.
So, if the majority of the party was against him then,
So is
and
it
you're
an issue?
saying now they get cast as rhinos, that's not making too much sense because if the majority of the party was against him, they'd be able to pass the bill with or without his say, which they should do
So the
anyway.
bill wasn't passed and ultimately had to result in executive order from Biden because they couldn't pass bipartisan legislation. Is that an issue that Trump had a hand in blocking that bill?
I think it's not necessarily something that's you could say it's an issue, but I don't think anybody has that true level
Okay,
of
so
influence. Once
the
again,
answer is no, you don't think that's a bad thing.
if somebody wanted to pass something, if you were a senator elected and you have your own autonomy, you're in the House of Representatives, if a 70 something year old man tells you, "Hey, don't do this," you're not going to do it? Like, bro,
Well,
if
yeah,
somebody tells
so
you,
part of the inspiration can be from the GOP senators and House representatives is that if we agree and make it a campaign issue, that can get our man elected. And when we control three branches of the government, we can largely steamroll legislation through Congress, get favorable viewpoints and constitutionality passed through the judicial branch, and then Trump goes crazy with the pen on executive orders. So that could be potential grounds for it. But I mean, I understand. Yeah, it's not just him saying, "Oh, please do this for me." It's not that's yeah, but I understand. I understand you're saying.
I understand the game as well and what you're saying, but once again, that goes back to my question, which I asked you: why do you wait until an election year to do it? That is the problem. You fail to see that that's the problem. Let's say Trump did call everybody and say, "Hey, put it off because they literally screwed the American people for 3 years. I want to screw them for one." And he's the problem instead of the 3 years that the people were screwed. That
Yeah.
is logically inconsistent. That is
Well,
100% logically inconsistent.
there
All
was
these
a
people didn't even have to be here. All these illegal immigrants didn't even have to be here. If
yeah.
something was passed off a rip when they said it was a freaking problem, when
Well,
Kamala was put to be over the border. But no, we're going to wait until an election year so we could say, "Oh, we fixed it." No, we're not doing that. It's
Well, I
not
think
happening.
I there was a large amount of things done for the border. I think Biden passed more border legislation and things than Trump did. I think he had 535-ish executive actions to taken against the border, specifically in immigration policies, whether that was some of those increasing the asylum ceiling for allowable people, some of that decreasing certain funding, and whatever the case is, he took more action.
Do you
Uh,
know why he had to take more action? Because he had more
because of
illegal
Trump's
immigrants
policies.
coming because
Because of
his
Trump's
crap
policies.
policy. No, hold on.
Yes.
When Trump was president, the illegal immigration was not as high, Xavier, and
Why
you
do you
know
think that
this.
is?
So,
Why do you think that is? Is that largely because of his policies?
do I think that illegal immigration is larger because of Trump's policies or Biden's?
No, no, I'm
Because
asking. I'm asking, why do you think Trump's was less? Was it due to his policy?
I'd venture to say it'd be due to some of his policy and his position stances on the actual subject matter, right? Because when Biden became president, literally the day after, the number of immigrants that came was astronomically high. And people were like, hey, these border crossings are crazy. They're like, this crap is crazy. So when Biden's having to sign way more executive orders and things of that nature, it's because he's trying to fix a problem that was broken. He actually even had to go back to some of Trump's policies in regards to the border to try
Exactly.
to resolve issues. But the
Yeah.
thing
He had to
is
resolve
that,
issues with Trump's bullshit.
oh my gosh,
That's what you just said,
the
right?
immigration wasn't high when Trump was
Why
president.
do you, again, I'll tell you why I think it is. I think it's because the world was shut down under a pandemic. I think it was because people could not even, you couldn't make it to the Mexico or southern border. Flights were stopped. I mean, it was mandatory travel only, and largely once Trump instituted Title 42, which replaced Title 8, it allowed for more expulsions. The problem is Title 8 allows for persecutions of people that attempt to cross into the United States, barring them from ever seeking citizenship or asylee status or anything of that nature. Unfortunately, Title 42 only allows that was Trump's formation under the for COVID to dismiss people or repulse people because of a health issue, a health concern. This allowed for recidivism. It allowed for people that got dismissed on Monday to come back Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and keep abusing the system. This had to get Trump's policy had to get fixed by Biden in order for us to focus on deportation, to process, to take people to trial, to get them disbarred from ever being allowed to come to the U.S. This is a Trump policy that caused massive issues at the border. That's why we see more border contacts than ever. Is because recidivism is up 30%. From it's the same people coming back and back and back because of Trump policies.
That's bruh, Xavier. Oh my gosh, this is such bad characterization because realistically, right? When these people are coming over, right? And they're being incentivized to come. Hey, we're going to give you free housing. Hey, we're going to give you EBT cards with freaking thousands of dollars of taxpayer money on it so you don't have to pay for housing. Was that a Trump policy? No, it wasn't. We're going
You
to give
don't think
you free
supporting
food.
asylees is
Was that a
important?
Trump policy? No, it wasn't. Hey, free school for your kids to the point where I basically know somebody. They or a substitute teacher, and then I know a few other teachers as well. They have classes specifically for Spanish speaking children. That is crazy. We're in America. You're in school. Why? Like you're in
Oh,
school.
fuck no. You did
No, you
not
have to
just
be
pull
able.
that.
If you
You
were
did
in
not just say
school,
speak American in this bitch,
I
bro.
didn't say speak American. I
Come
said speak
on. We're in
English,
America,
brother,
a
brother,
multicultural
brother,
country.
brother.
Speak fucking English is what you just said.
You have to assimilate to the culture.
You think that
Why?
shit happens overnight? Go move to Mexico and learn that shit tomorrow.
Language,
What?
language. Breathe.
No, because that's what you
Now,
just said.
no, hold on. If you're in the sixth grade, why are you in exclusively Spanish classes when
Because you're an
you?
asylee, because you're here legally
But if
and
you
you need
came when
support.
you were like four, if you came when you were like 3 or 4,
Oh
and
my
you're in now
fucking
in sixth
God.
grade, which is almost a decade,
Yeah. How long you lived in Texas?
my entire life,
How much Spanish you speak?
a good amount. I took 3 years of it.
Let's hear that shit. Let's hear something, anything.
Hola, cómo estás, negrito?
Okay, yeah, that's about the level I expected. So, I
Oh, no,
mean,
no,
I
no, no,
would
no, no,
just
no, no,
say
no, no, no,
that,
no, 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 mi amigo. Tu madre es muy bonita.
all
Nah,
right, yeah,
soy,
again, about the level I expected. So the
él es
fact
muy
that you've
gordo
been
y
here for
feo
two
y
decades
guapo y
and can't speak
muy
Spanish,
frío
you
y
sound like me
tú,
right now, and I don't
tú
claim to
juegas
speak Spanish.
con balloons.
All right, yeah,
See,
that's
see,
great.
no.
So yeah, so that being said,
Hey, I can hold Spanish conversations with Spanish people, and I did when I was actually at my
conversations, I
job
doubt
at
it. I would say
Vance.
you
I
stumble
sold
through
to
them at
people in
best.
Spanish. ¿Quieres
But
aplicar por una tarjeta de crédito con nosotros?
oh yeah, you learned that. Yeah, okay, excellent.
No,
That
I
is decent.
actually know how to
That's
carry a
decent.
conversation in Spanish. It only took
Okay,
3 years,
yeah, yeah.
buddy.
And I'll
I'm just
admit it's more
saying.
than me, but yeah, if you don't
Don't
have
sleep.
enough to go and sit in a classroom and learn fluently, I mean, again, we support asylees,
We're talking about 3 years
and
versus
we
8 years, fam.
you said
In
what?
8 years, you didn't learn how to speak a lick of English? That's
Probably
crazy.
not enough to converse fluently in a classroom. I'm not sure, but the point is that we support people, immigrants that are legally here,
Legally,
in order
100%. And guess
in
what they have
order
to
for
do?
them in
Learn
order
how to
for them
speak
to
English
obtain
and learn our. Oh my God.
in order for them to obtain citizenship. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, I wouldn't want taxpayer dollars being wasted on people either. But the thing is, yeah, it's not to remove the support that we have in place. We offer welfare to our own citizens. Why would we not offer it to aspiring citizens?
Aspiring legal citizens, sure. Illegal, no, no, no.
I
Illegal, crime. Illegal is a crime.
Sure, I'd be curious. And we do only have 2 minutes left, so I will do a quick Google search. But do I have to be a citizen? Do I need to be a citizen to receive welfare? I'd be curious on whether or not this is the case because it let me see. Family size, citizenship. Welfare is only available to legal citizens and permanent residents of the United States. So that's already a policy. So you saying that illegals are receiving it, what you really mean is just immigrants. And I'd be
Go research New York. Please go research New York and Chicago. You'll be very actually we can do a second video. We can pull up some articles.
That's fine.
That'd be
Okay,
lovely.
sure. Well, that being said, I'll go ahead and outro us as we do only have a minute left. Um, Thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in and hearing our insane takes on the policies of the United States, the performance of JD Vance and Tim Walz. I hope that this was entertaining. You learned something, and that you will be more active in politics and make your voices heard at the ballot box. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe for more, and any suggestions, feedback is always greatly appreciated. Any final thoughts or closing statements?
That's it.
Excellent.
Like and subscribe and share.
Adios. All right. Let me